The Florida Gators are saying goodbye to quarterback DJ Lagway as he departs for greener pastures, or at least he hopes they're going to be greener pastures, as he had a home in Gainesville for 2 years. He was said to have loved Gainesville, but he is going to be continuing and finishing his college career somewhere other than Gainesville. We're going to talk about that, the shockwaves that have been rippling through Gator Nation with the announcement of that news. Some Gator fans are celebrating the news. They say, he didn't perform the way he was expected to. Some Gator fans are more somber and just solemn and sad, for lack of a better way to put it. They're just not happy. Their hopes and dreams for the 5-star signee that was at one point considered to be a slam dunk pickup for the Florida Gators under Billy Napier is now no longer going to be with the Florida Gator program. So we're going to talk about all that and more. First things first, welcome to the All Kinds of Weather forecast. It is a very metaphorically dark and bleak day. Again, if you're of the camp that believes that this was a bad thing to happen for the Gators. But in any case, I'm your host, Neil Shulman. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at All Kinds Weather. Adrian Perez at Gator Diamond Pod for his stickball analysis. Also at ADNDEL on Twitter for his football and basketball takes. I'm going to take a second to shout out our sponsors. After I remind y'all, please hit that subscribe button. It is free to do so. Please leave a 5-star rating and a nice review on Apple Podcasts. That all helps us bring more great Gator content to those of y'all who cheer for the Florida Gators. So our sponsor, 401k Generation, the wealth management company that helps you invest today for your future tomorrow. Their team of advisors is committed to providing guidance and education for your 401k plan and its participants. And they also offer a range of enrollment solutions tailored to meet the unique needs of your company's 401k plan. Whether it is savings for your child's college, investment advice, or even just your retirement, 401k Generation's team of advisors makes getting to know you their top priority. Their advisors will tailor a path to assist you in navigating life's financial milestones and reaching your financial goals. 401k Generation, building stronger futures one generation at a time. For more information, please contact them, 866-998-5879, or visit their website at 401kgeneration.com. Also, don't forget to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/CFBforecaster. That's where you're going to get exclusive access to everything behind the All Kinds of Weather forecaster model. So top 25 power ratings, complete 136 team rankings, weekly game-by-game projections with spreads, win probabilities, totals, and more. Also going to get some early data drops, deeper analytics breakdowns, and even the ability to request custom simulations for your team once we get to roll that out. If you like what we're building here, your support directly helps us keep improving the most data-driven model in college football. Again, patreon.com/CFBforecaster. Go ahead and check it out and join our community today. And with all that taken care of, all the housekeeping stuff now behind us, Adrian, you'll get the first crack at breaking down what happened here, how big of a loss this is. Is it addition by subtraction, as some people think? It certainly got a lot of people buzzing to talk about DJ Lagway. So you'll get the floor first. What are you thinking? What does this mean? And all that good stuff.
Well, we'll go back and forth on it a little bit, but, I wasn't surprised, obviously. I don't think you were. All you had to do was, read the tea leaves a little bit, read between the lines, watch this show a little bit. I kind of been hinting about this for the last couple of weeks, and I mentioned that one of the most striking things that I noticed that told me this day was probably coming was that Summerall never mentioned DJ in any one of his pressers, okay? Never mentioned, supposedly, if DJ is your guy coming back, you're going to mention him. If he's your star quarterback coming back to your team, you're going to mention him in one of these pressers. And he was doing some interview somewhere also, and he was directly asked about DJ and basically just didn't answer the question. So not surprising. It closes the book on what I think is probably one of the most disappointing careers in UF history. When it's all said and done, as far as what was expected, I guess it's fair, not so fair to say what was given. right? Because NIL wasn't around always. But for what was given and what was expected, man, the return just was not there. And it closes the book on that. Career stats of 328 of 529 for 62% completion percentage, 4,000, a little bit over 4,000 passing yards, 28 touchdowns. And here's the kicker, man, 23 interceptions, 10 wins, 9 losses in his career at Florida. So disappointment is the overall theme, I think, that prevails and closes the book on this. You know, we'll go back and forth on it, but that was my initial reaction. Since then, you get a lot of stuff on the socials, right? A lot of stuff, a lot of people coming with stories. You know, you got CBS Sports Online, and you got other people who do podcasts giving their takes. You know, remember when you're listening to those, a lot of vested interests out there. There was a lot of people who had vested interest in DJ succeeding here. So they're going to have a spin. You're going to have, you know, DJ's camp putting a spin out there as well, you know, so they're going to have their spin. But I think, Neil, when it's all said and done, it pretty much just came down to if Summerall and Faulkner thought DJ was their guy, DJ would be the quarterback of the Florida Gators. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. They looked at that film. They sat down with him. I'm sure they told him, listen, man, we're going to bring maybe a guy or two to compete for the position. Probably before that, they probably sat down with Caldwell also and talked about what he was going to be paid next year. And it wasn't going to be what he was probably going to be paid this year. But I don't think that was the overriding factor, okay? My opinion. I have no inside knowledge. This is for entertainment purposes only. I don't think that would have been the overriding factor. But DJ, I don't believe was given the warm and fuzzy, so to speak, in that meeting that has been written about already by a few people. Different variations of what happened in there, right? So we probably will never know, okay? But you could surmise what happened. It doesn't take a genius. If they wanted him to be their quarterback, he would be the quarterback. But they told him you probably were going to have to compete for that position, and it was going to be opened up not only with Tramel Jones, but with maybe one or two guys that were also going to be. And so that's how I see it. And DJ probably looked at that. And from what I've heard also today, I still heard that DJ still wanted to stay. But I believe his camp urged him otherwise. That's kind of what I've heard. Is it fact? Who knows? So that was my initial reaction. What say you, Neil?
Yeah, a few things. Number one, there is a lot we don't know, and I think we need to be, we as a society just need to be accepting of the fact that sometimes we don't know is an acceptable thing to say, and it's an acceptable line of discourse regarding something like this, where we don't know, because unless you were a fly on the wall in that meeting room where John Summerall met with him or David Caldwell met with his agent, Justin Giagrande, you don't know, and you're just lying if you say you do. But I will say one thing. We don't know everything. We don't know a lot about what happened in that meeting. I do know one thing. I have this on very good authority. DJ Lagway absolutely wanted to stay at Florida. You heard that correctly. And that soundbite that he had a few weeks ago, I believe it was on November 23rd of 2015, this year, where he says that he just wants to be a Gator, that's real. That was not spin zone. That was not PR. That was not just an attempt to get the guys focused on FSU, because that was right after Tennessee blew us out and before FSU came to the Swamp. That was not an attempt to keep everyone focused. That was as genuine and authentic as it gets. So at some point between then and now, obviously, I think we're going to take the time between then and John Summerall being announced as the head coach out. So between John Summerall's announcement and his introductory press conference and now, somewhere along the way, something went sour here. And it's possible that multiple parts of this went sour. Maybe John Sumrall soured on Lagway after watching more of his film. Maybe Lagway himself or his family or his camp soured on Sumrall after they did some investigative work on him, or they just saw the Buster Faulkner hire. Maybe that turned someone off. Maybe it was a mutual souring against each other after they had this meeting, which I believe existed. And beyond that, don't think we can take anything at face value. But something went wrong. Something changed in the opinion of DJ Lagway and the collective opinion of DJ Lagway's camp on the University of Florida. Now, this is where we get into the world of conjecture. And it's a dangerous world if we don't do this very carefully. So let's do that. Let's do this very, very carefully. And I'm going to preface it by saying I'm a big fan of DJ Lagway. I'm a fan of his potential as a quarterback. I'm a fan of him as a human being. He would recognize me at softball games. We would text every so often, not like, every day, but every now and then we text. He would send we'd send a couple of videos to my younger cousins. I've actually got one here because everyone I know can claim everything. So he and I actually tried to FaceTime my cousins at a softball game one time. And let's just make sure it's going to play before I... So he offered to do that after we tried FaceTiming with my little cousins and they didn't pick up at the moment. He didn't want a penny for it. He offered to do that, and there was going to be zero coverage of it. There's no PR initiative for him to do that. That was genuine and as authentic as it gets. So I'm a huge fan of the guy. I'm a huge fan of DJ Lagway. And I've met his agent, Justin. I like the guy. I think he does a good job. Generally speaking, he's young, but I think he's hungry and driven and does a good job for DJ, at least given the experience that he's got. So I like Lagway and I like his camp. I met his grandparents too at the Orange and Blue game in 24. So why do I say all of this? I say all of this because something here reeks. This entire situation stinks to high heavens and down to the lowest depths of hell and back. Because then today came the news that Lagway was transferring. Moments later, within minutes of that Instagram post that Lagway dropped, within minutes, this CBS article drops, which clearly was done before Lagway dropped his announcement. So that tells me, okay, PR 101, the announcement graphic by Lagway and this article by CBS were done in tandem. There was some collaboration here. There was some synergy happening here between Lagway's camp, who you can pretty clearly tell are the sources behind the CBS article. And it reads, in part, John Sumrall questioned, this is me reading the CBS article, John Sumrall questioned who Lagway is as a football player. The new staff opted to challenge the high-priced quarterback, pushing him on his competitiveness and his work ethic. Quote, Sumrall questioned what he's about, unquote, said one source, which to me is pretty obviously PR spin zone 101, because this is one side of the story, as obvious gets. And there's a fatal flaw here. I went to college for a degree in media and communication. So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about here. I'm not an agent. I don't, live in the PR world. I mean, I kind of do, but not really. I'm not a professional PR guy. But I took multiple PR classes for that degree. And the one thing above all else we were taught, this professor of ours would not let us pass our class without knowing this. The closer to the honest truth that your story is, the less you open yourself up for difficult questions. And if you're going to put your spin on things and distort the truth, you had better be ready when the difficult questions come flying. Thank you for that, Ashley Farkas. I will never forget that quote. Here's a question, and I'm talking directly to the source of information right now for CBS. Here's a difficult question that I really hope you have an answer for. You're telling me that John Sumrall questioned what Lagway is about, and DJ Lagway's answer to that question was to bail on the team? And don't look at me as painting a narrative. I'm reading your words here. I've just read the article. I just read the quote right from it. And what that said to me was they questioned who Lagway was, because there's multiple times in that article the word question about DJ Lagway coming from John Sumrall's mouth. So you're telling me that Sumrall and company questioned who Lagway was, and Lagway told him who he was by quitting on the team. And that is your narrative. That is coming from Lagway's camp. You, the people who are out there to put the PR spin behind DJ Lagway to make him look as good as possible, your camp is the one that's just telling us Lagway's a quitter. Now, I don't really believe that, but what that tells me is this is a narrative, and there's something not necessarily entirely truthful going on behind the scenes here. So if that's your best attempt at a spin zone, you just basically told us all that your guy quit. That, again, I just read the article. That's not my words. That's me reading what this article, which was pretty clearly written in conjunction with someone in Lagway's camp, said. I don't know what to make of this. I hate to think that that's true. I don't really believe it is. I don't think that DJ Lagway is a quitter at all. I believe he is a hardworking guy. You can point to, well, he gained all this weight that wasn't really healthy. His mechanics suck. He threw 5 picks against LSU. I'm going to say, yeah, that's really, really bad, but he wasn't developed. That wasn't him quitting. He just wasn't developed. But if you're going to sit there and tell me that this is the honest truth, that this is not a narrative, then boy, does that look bad on DJ Lagway. So long story short, something here reeks. And I don't know exactly what it is. I imagine with time we will find it out. But this does not strike me as 100% truthful.
That's an interesting. I hadn't thought about that actually, because we don't talk. We don't talk about this stuff. We pretty much are incommunicado, and when we
for a reason, for good reason.
And when we turn this on, that's when you get my first opinions on things, and I get your first takes on things. So I hadn't thought about that, but that is kind of strange. Yeah, right, because you think that for that article to come out so fast, it could only have come from Lagway's camp. Only he knew exactly when he was going to, quote unquote, make his announcement, right? So, yeah, that does make sense. And then the spin, like you put it, makes you kind of look bad, kind of, because then you end up leaving the team. So basically, the stuff that Sumrall is challenging you on, you pretty much just gave it credence by your actions.
If that's even what happened.
Yeah.
If there's any truth to that at all.
Well, I could see something like that happening, and let me tell you why. Much like the Lane Kiffin thing, why Lane Kiffin was forced to do what he did is because of this crazy college football calendar, right? Everything is forced to be done really quick right now, okay? And remember, Neil, this is the first year that there's going to be only one transfer portal. By January 16th, we're going to know what the Gator football team is, period. That's it, okay? That's it. This is going to be the team going into 2026 because there's no more spring portal. So this was almost like a speed dating type of thing. Mind you, this is why I also wanted Tulane to lose, okay, against North Texas. Did that have any major effects on this situation with Lagway? I don't think so. I think this would have played out like this regardless, but it does speed things up big time, man. It's like speed dating. So I do see how they had to sit down with Lagway and get to the nuts and bolts of things, man. They had to make decisions and make decisions fast. Now, remember, Sumrall already prepared for Lagway one time. When we played Tulane last year, he prepared for Lagway.
Yep,
he thoroughly broke down film on Lagway for that game. That's number one. Then you get Faulkner hired. Faulkner's been in town. He's had access to all of the tapes and all that good stuff. All right. So he's been breaking down film. That's number two. Number three, it's also kind of like the combine. You can't hide stuff from the combine with regards to medical. If DJ really has any medical issues, which had been rumored about the entire season, Neil.
Some of which was by you.
From his headsy to his toesies. He's had almost rumored everywhere something, okay? From the calf to the shoulder to the oblongata, everything. Everything has been rumored that he's not 100% healthy. Well, they had access to that now too, okay? You couldn't hide that from them now, okay? So they had to make this determination. And then, Neil, I got to tell you, man, the whole being challenged thing and challenging what he's about, that was being done through the year also, Neil. A lot of people were questioning DJ's demeanor on the sidelines. They were questioning his leadership abilities. They were saying how he just, goes to the sideline, puts on his headsets, doesn't rally nobody. You never see him going to the offensive linemen, getting in their faces. You never saw none of that. I heard today that there was definitely a division in the locker room. Okay, Jeff Cardozo on his radio station today, said that there was definitely a division in the locker room, with one camp being pro Lagway and one camp thinking that Lagway had too much preferential treatment. Okay, so that doesn't help either. All right, so all this the new staff had to take into account, and I think it's pretty simple, man. Like I said, if DJ Lagway was going to be their guy, he would have been on the team, man. Plain and simple. And, I do believe you, though. I do believe, because DJ didn't want to leave when it's all said and done. I think he really, really liked being a Florida Gator, really enjoyed living in Gainesville, probably really enjoyed his teammates. And I think he was advised to get into the portal by his, his agent, his parents, the people around him that help these kids make these decisions. And honestly, Neil, I think it's the right decision also. I think he needed a fresh start. It's funny how now you hear people saying, oh, he just needs to get better coaching. Well, he would have gotten better coaching here. I mean, that guy Faulkner just won Offensive Coordinator of the Year. Okay, so he would have ended up getting better coaching, because the guy who was the bad coach left town. Okay, so we'll see where he goes, but his issues have a lot more to do with coaching, Neil. That's my opinion, and it's also the opinion of a guy that you might have heard called Shane Matthews. All right, if you listen to Shane Matthews said, plain and simple, man, listen, this new staff has no time to develop and teach how to be a quarterback right now. They got to hit the ground running, and they got to win now. And DJ's issues are a lot more than just, the coach has to show him, where to go with the ball a little bit better. No, he's got much more bigger issues than that.
Yeah. Well, I think at this point, too, we have to just address the elephant in the room. It's minor league football. Like, let's just be completely transparent about it. Let's stop with the charades about how this is still amateur athleticism. I love the Florida Gators. I always will, but let's just call a spade a spade. The guys are getting paid now. It's a business. It just is. The love for the logo is gone. If that's what you're here for, go root for Army or Navy or Air Force. The 3 service academies are all that's left when it comes to the purity of college athletics and just playing for that patch, as Billy Gonzalez said. It's gone. It's dead. Miles Graham, legacy guy. Vernell Brown, legacy guy. They wouldn't be here if they were told to play for free. They just wouldn't. They simply wouldn't. They were given nice NIL deals to be Florida Gators. That's just the lay of the land now. So with that said, let's look at DJ Lagway and what he is and isn't worth, according to different people in the industry. Look, there's no shortage of NIL valuators and prognosticators and people who just attempt to gauge players' worth, because, again, this minor league professional football that we're in now hasn't quite caught up to the NFL, where everyone's salary is public record. But there are people with pretty good ideas, and the valuation for Lagway is multiple million a year. Given where Florida is right now, and given David Caldwell coming in with his, like we talked about a couple of shows ago, his experience with managing salary caps with the Eagles under Howie Roseman, they're just not interested in paying a large amount of money for a guy who's going to turn in the statistics and the tape that DJ Lagway turned in. And you and I can sit here and we can debate into the night whether or not Lagway is salvageable. I think he is. You think he's not. doesn't matter. He's not ready to play SEC football right now. And like you said, that's what Florida needs. So you're going to see Florida go into the portal and get a quarterback almost certainly. And it's going to be someone like a Darius Mensah from Duke or a Sam Levitt from Arizona State or someone of that caliber who can hit the ground running, do the install in spring practice, learn the offense at Florida, and then they're good. And now you've plugged and played, you set it and forget it, and you can go address other needs in the portal in this short window that we've got, and then coach up the other guys. You don't have to worry about that at quarterback because, like you said, DJ Lagway, well, you didn't say he was salvageable, but you did say, Adrian, that best case scenario, DJ Lagway would need a lot of work.
You know what he is, Neil? He's a project. He's a project.
Yeah, sure.
He's a project.
And I happen to think that there is still a very good likelihood that someone can get that project to completion and get the kind of production that everyone always thought he could have at Florida somewhere else. But like you said, Florida doesn't have time for it, and they certainly don't have the time and the money to pay for it. That NIL valuation has been essentially sliced in half, depending on who you look at and who you're trusting, whether you just look at the On3 NIL valuation prediction machine, or you look at who is it? Jesse Simmons, I think, put out some stats on him on Twitter. But the preseason valuation was between 3.5 and 4 million. Pretty much everyone agrees on that range. Before 2025 rolled around this past August, that NIL valuation was between 3.5 and 4 million. It's about 2 now. And even that, I think, is more than Florida is willing to spend when you consider that there's a Jaden Baugh that you now have to fight tooth and nail to keep without getting too far ahead of ourselves. That's not going to be easy. Florida might keep him. They might not. Whether or not y'all ever hear about this, whether or not it ever sees the light of day, Florida's got to be ready to pay up to keep that guy in orange and blue. It's not just going to happen overnight because the guy just snaps his fingers and goes, yeah, I feel like staying here. No, behind the scenes, there's a real battle, and you can copy and paste that for a lot of guys who played decent to big roles on the Gators this past season with what little success they did have. So again, it's not worth the money. It's not worth the work to develop him. And now, given what you just pointed out with Shane Matthews talking about the locker room division, if that's
Jeff Cardoza.
Or Jeff Cardoza. Sorry, Jeff Cardoza. Shannon Snell, by the way, has also hinted at that in public. If there's even a whiff of truth to that, it's not worth the continued locker room division. If it's false, then you still have the other two reasons, the money and the work that you have to put into this project. So it just there are more reasons for Florida to want to move on than there are for Florida to try to continue to make it work. So I'm sad personally. I loved the guy. I thought he was a fantastic teammate from what I saw. The person, again, the sending my little cousins those videos, we would text every now and then, and he would just always look to credit the guys around him. He wouldn't say, yeah, I had a good day or I had a bad day. It was always, yeah, he made great plays, and then he bailed me out. Vernell made a great catch in practice and made me look great, something like that. And he just never made himself sound that important or great. And it's that humility that I think really makes him easy to root for. But this just had to end the second you put the emotions aside and you start to think about it logically. There are too many bullet points that point to him leaving being the better decision, as sad as it is.
No doubt. I've been thinking it was gonna be going to this for a while now. Ever since early on this season, man. I just saw a lot of things in Lagway's game that were very concerning. And I wasn't afraid to be wrong, Neil. Kind of like how Josh Pate likes to say. He goes like how Mima says. A lot of him and Han. A lot of people in the podcast world, in the Gator podcast world, were him and Han on DJ. They were just afraid to come out and say it. Well, I wasn't afraid to come out and say it a while back ago already because I just wasn't afraid to be wrong. Can I be wrong? Sure. Can DJ go somewhere and become a great quarterback and a first-round NFL draft pick? Sure, he could. He's got a lot of natural ability, a lot of natural talent, no doubt. But takes more than natural ability and natural talent to be a quarterback, and that's the problem. I don't think DJ is a very good quarterback, and I don't think he's going to be able to develop that side of his game, man. Not enough time. I mean, that bus left town, dude. That's how I see it, man. A lot of issues with him. But the Gators got to move on, man. The Gators got to move on, and I'm sure they got a plan. I'm sure they have a plan, dude.
Yeah, I think they do. I think John Summerall does. I think at this very early stage, the two names I mentioned earlier in the show, Mensa and Sam Levitt, I think are as logical as any. I think it's going to be someone like that that's going to get the call from Florida. Someone who's been a starter, been successful as a starter, not with a mixed bag, but someone who's been clearly overwhelmingly successful at their prior stop and is looking to take that step up to the next level. Florida, I'm sorry, Duke, you're not Florida. You're just not. Duke to Florida is a clear step up. Arizona State to Florida. I know they were in the CFP last year and probably should have won that game against Texas. I don't care. Florida's a clear step up. The SEC, aside from Mississippi State, probably any other school in the SEC or maybe Kentucky or Missouri is a step up. Look at Jaden Daniels. Look at what he did going to the SEC and balling out for LSU. Look at Ricky Pearsall, a receiver, but from Arizona State to Florida, took that next step, got himself in the first round of the NFL draft. A terrible thing happened to him off the field, but despite it, he's still producing in the NFL now, in large part because of that tape he put together at Florida. So Sam Levitt could be one to make that jump from Arizona State to Florida. It's going to be someone like that. It will not be Florida taking a chance on someone with good and bad in their tape. It will be someone who has been overwhelmingly successful and looking to upgrade their reach to the University of Florida. Of course, the reach University of Florida provides is one that's not matched by Arizona State or Duke because they're not in the SEC. Okay, so that's that. We got some – go ahead. You got something else to say, I know.
What I heard was that from Zach Alberverdi, same show that I was listening with, Jeff Cardozo, they think that they're going to bring in two quarterbacks, one established and one kind of a developmental type of guy. That's number one. Number two, as far as Mensa is concerned, the early word on him is that he's considering the draft or coming back to Duke. Now, that's the early word, and that could have already changed by the time we started this podcast, okay? But that is the early word. Now, he does have that relationship also with Summerall, obviously. Remember, he's at Duke now, but he started at Tulane, okay? So he does have a little bit of a relationship there with Summerall. Did he play for Tulane his first year? Yes, right?
Yeah, he did.
He played for Tulane that first year with Summerall, and then he opted out of the bowl game against Florida. He opted out of the bowl game along with like 10 other guys. So
the whole team opted out, basically, yeah.
So Summerall coached him for a whole year. So there's definitely a relationship there. However, it looks like for now, unless something changes, he's either considering going to the draft or going back to Duke. We shall see. Another thing, Florida is flush with cash right now, right? So they shouldn't be able to get outbid. If they want a quarterback, you're flush with cash, you got the DJ money, and you got just the money, period. And then you also have the offensive coordinator of the year in your back pocket. So they should be able to tab pretty much whoever they want and go after that person. Because supposedly Miami wants Levitt from Arizona State also. And I think Oregon is also. So there's going to be heavy hitters, man. When you're talking about swimming with the top, 2 or going after the top two, 3 quarterbacks in the portal, right? You're going to have to pay for that. And you're going to have to go up against some heavy hitters. Carson Beck last year, Neil, got what? $4 million was what was reported? $4 million. All right. So that DJ Lagway money, you might have to pay it anyways to get your quarterback. Okay. But at least you're paying it to somebody who you think you could win with. You know,
well, someone who's shown it on tape. That's the thing.
Yeah,
someone who has shown on tape that they do more good than bad, as opposed to a project.
Yep, someone that you think you can win with, man. Like I said, if they thought that they could win with DJ Lagway, they wouldn't have cared what his NIL was. They would have told DJ Lagway, "You're our guy. We want you back, and let's go. Let's rock and roll." And everything would have been fine. And guess what? Everybody would have been happy. Because everything you said is true about Lagway. I was at that softball game with you that day, actually. Okay? I was with you that day when he filmed that. Yeah.
You saw him do that. That's right.
You forgot, didn't you? Well, he was at all those softball games because he was dating the softball player.
David Brown. Yeah.
So he was always there. And, man, not one person he would not stop to take a picture with. The guy's a really good guy. The guy's a great guy. You know, that had nothing to do with none of this. And everybody would have been ecstatic if he had succeeded here. You know, but unfortunately circumstances were, and he hasn't. So that had to happen. But we wish him the best, man. Where do you think he goes from here, by the way? What do you think
I'm hopeful he goes Baylor, because I know his dad played there. It's close to home for him. I'm going to be sick if he goes to LSU or Miami. And then yet at the same time, no, I'm not, because thanks to the conference expansion, we don't play those teams anymore. Miami, obviously the ACC, we don't play them ever again, I don't think, because of the way the CFP is not going to reward non-conference scheduling strength. But LSU is not a rival anymore. They're not an annual opponent anymore. He could go to LSU, ball out, get himself the first or second round NFL draft grade in peace. We don't it's not going to affect us any.
You know, if I was advising him, right, if he was my kid and stuff like that, but it's kind of a different time now with this NIL stuff and a lot of pressure. He's going to be going into his third year, quote unquote, being draft eligible and all that stuff. But really what he needs, Neil, is to go down a little bit. I'm not saying Division II or nothing, but go lower Power 4. Go to like a Kansas State, go to like a Maryland, a Minnesota. Go there for 1 year. Okay, be relaxed, a little bit less pressure type of environment. Work on your game, work on your technique. Like I said, I really don't think his issues are he needs the best quarterback coach in the history of mankind. I just think he needs to play. He needs to, you know, get coached up on basic stuff, man.
He needs the game to slow down for him.
Yeah, and he needs that. Neil, any coach that coaches quarterbacks in football can coach him on better footwork, okay? I'm sure Billy Napier even was telling him, dude, your footwork is awful. You got to do this, not that. He just has these awful bad habits from high school, probably. He got away with it in high school, but obviously this is not high school, man. So he needs to play. He needs to get completely healthy. And I think if he does that in a lower division, that'll be his third year. Not a lower division, a lower Power 4.
Non-SEC.
Yeah, non-SEC, but even, you know, Maryland, Minnesota, like I said, then his senior year, boom, go up to a team that's contending for a national title probably after you work out the kinks there in year 3. And I think he could be successful doing that. You've seen guys do that, you know. So we'll see what he does. I don't think that's going to happen, obviously. I think I hope he does that, though. If he doesn't do what I said, I hope he goes to Baylor, just like you said. I think that'll be a good spot for him. I think going to Miami, going to LSU, I think it will end bad. I think that will have almost no chance of success. None.
He needs a reset. And I don't think that either LSU or Miami are going to be willing to provide him with one. Because like you said, he's a project. He needs to be coached up on the fundamentals. The payoff is enormous if you do it right. If you have an all-world quarterbacks coach coaching him up, and you get that footwork corrected and the throwing motion where he just kind of flips it like a baseball. Whereas if you get him, as we've talked about ad nauseum on this show, to plant and then drive like you're supposed to throw a football, you get him to do that, and then you get him to cut out some of these decisions that he makes, like throwing late across the middle in the triple coverage against LSU, stuff like that. You get him to see the whole field, and you get him to slow the game down, or the game slows down for him a little bit. The potential is Heisman Trophy winner, number 1 NFL draft pick. The natural talent for him to do that is there, as it was, for that matter, with Anthony Richardson. He was still drafted number 4 overall in the NFL because the people in the Indianapolis front office saw enough that they thought they could coach him to success. Obviously, it didn't work out there. Daniel Jones kind of beat him out, and now Phillip Rivers, which is crazy. I know he's hurt, but that's just a wild end of that story. But the point is, he still went number 4 overall in the NFL draft, and he got himself the bag that goes along with it. And I'm sure that while his agent and his team and his camp and his parents would all love for him to be successful in the long run, that's still life-changing money. Like even more so than the $2, $3, $4 million a year the top quarterbacks in college get. So that's DJ Lagway. There were other guys who hit the transfer portal today. We'll run through them quickly because Lagway was obviously the one we had to talk about the most, but a few others that hit the portal. We'll start with tight end Amir Jackson. He caught a touchdown pass against Texas A&M. There were some high hopes for him, nothing close to the hype for Lagway, but we all thought, I think most of us thought he could be very successful here. It didn't work out. He's now hitting the portal. How difficult of a loss to replace do you think that is?
Well, the funny thing is that I thought that Jackson was the most talented tight end. Unfortunately, man, they just couldn't stop throwing the ball to Hayden Hansen, man. Hayden Hansen and to a lesser extent Tony Livingston just had a lockdown on that thing, and they were going 12 personnel, and Jackson could barely get on the field. And I thought he was the most talented guy. Maybe he wasn't doing it in practice. I don't know. Us fans don't know anything. We just seem to be right a lot of the time.
Weird how that works,
go
right?
Figure, yeah. Just go figure. But hey, I thought we had actually talked about him, I think the last pod or two, and we were excited to see him moving forward. So that'll be somewhere else. So we wish him the best. But tight end position, you should be able to get, a guy in the portal. Does Hayden Hansen come back, or is he graduated?
He graduated, but we have Hayes Kent coming in, the 300-pound tight end from high school.
Yeah,
so,
Hezzy Kent, who I predict will probably be a left tackle. I don't think he sticks at tight end. I think he has the potential to be a first-round NFL left tackle. Move like that at that size, that's a first-round left tackle. But yeah, so we'll see. How about Livingston? Does he have a year of eligibility, or is he?
Yeah, Tony Livingston has eligibility left.
Okay.
We just don't. That's the thing, though. We just never know what's going to happen with these guys who have eligibility left. Are they going to hit the portal? So, I mean, I think he's got 2 years left. He's used 2 years of eligibility. I'm pretty sure 23 did not count for him because he only caught one pass. But he's definitely got 1, if not 2 years of eligibility left.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't think it's a huge loss. I would have liked to have seen him developed at Florida. I would have liked to have seen him used more than he was at Florida this year. But, whatever. Offensive line got to be rebuilt for Florida. That's the big thing that everyone's going to be talking about this portal cycle. You lose Austin Barber. You lose Damian George. You lose your All-American Jake Slaughter. You lose Cameron Waits. You got to address that, and you got to address that at multiple points. Anything else to me on the offense, even Jaden Baugh, is secondary to that offensive line rebuild. I would love to get Jaden Baugh back. Like I said, that's going to be a fight for Florida, and I think he's worth it, but you've got to shell out for that offensive line. We'll talk about that at a different date, but that's my thoughts on Amir Jackson. Hurts, whatever, it's secondary. There's a much bigger fish to fry here. Okay, Katie Daniels, running back who scored a touchdown against John Sumrall's Tulane Green Wave in that Pirate Bowl, the Gasparilla Bowl, on a fumble. As I believe Anish Shroff, the announcer, called it that day, an alchemist, turning it into gold because he finds a fumble and he just takes it and runs it in for a touchdown. He's now gone. Obviously, Jaden Baugh is going to be the topic of, I think, the whole offseason, really, for Florida, whether he stays or goes. But his understudy, Katie Daniels, is now gone. What do you think of that?
I don't think it's a big loss at all. I mean, he had been passed up by Duke. Duke had passed him up. The previous staff really liked Byron Lewis a lot. So even though I think he only played in one game this year, but he's there also. So I think, and like I said, running back, the NFL has already undervalued running back a little bit. So you could find them. That's not what I'm saying about Jaden Bogg, though. Jaden Bogg is a unique special talent, obviously. But you could get a running back in the transfer portal to add depth. That's for sure. So it's not a big loss at all for me.
Yeah, I mean, running backs these days are basically three questions. Number one, are you a historic talent? Like, are you a Saquon Barkley? Are you a Barry Sanders type? If the answer is yes, obviously go shell out money, go get it. If the answer is no, you go to question number two. Question number two, do you have good vision? Like, can you see a hole open up and then be through it within seconds? Do you know your blocking schemes? Do you know who's pulling and you're able to kind of anticipate that kind of stuff? Do you have good vision? Question number two. If the answer to that is yes, great. Question number three, do you fumble? If the answer to that is no, sweet, you got your running back. That's all you need to do. Have good vision, see the hole, hold on to the ball. If you can catch balls out of the backfield, if you can shed tackles, if you can win Olympic foot races like Jeff Demps, great. Bonus, not a requirement. That's all you need from a running back in 2025. I hate to say it because we talk all this hype about Jaden Baugh, but they are kind of a dime a dozen. If Katie Daniels goes, his 28 carries and 120 yards and one touchdown at Florida, go with him. Wish him well. Nothing personal. It's a business. Go get yourself paid somewhere else. We'll be fine doing the same thing. Being on the other end of the same thing, getting someone else looking to take that step up. Okay. Then after KD Daniels, we have got safety Jordan Castell. And this is the one, if you were to tell me in 2023 that Jordan Castell would be hitting the transfer portal in the future, I would be kind of pissed because there was a lot of promise as a true freshman. Fast forward 2 years later, we're still kind of waiting for that promise to see itself play out in a positive way, and it just hasn't happened. So your thoughts on losing the safety to the transfer portal?
Nah, it's you would think that coming into the season as a senior with that many reps would be a ginormous loss, but it just isn't. It just isn't because, honestly, he's just not a very good safety. Takes very poor angles. He's not aggressive coming downhill to do run support. I thought the walk-on Allen was playing better than him, and he started taking some snaps from him there finally towards the end of the year. So it's not a loss at all. We came into this season saying that this was Jordan Castell's, remember the preseason pod, that this was his put up or shut up year, man. He had to, all those reps that were used up on him freshman and sophomore year had to come into fruition this year. And was there a big payoff? In my opinion, no.
No, I mean, again, it goes back to what I said a second ago. As a freshman, there was a lot of promise. There was a lot of, just wait till he puts it together. But you can't just fast forward 2 years and still be in the same limbo spot. You can't just still be in the same purgatory spot that you're in 2 years ago with a freshman who shows some promise, but also hurts your team at other times too with the things he does on the field. He just plateaued at that purgatorial parking spot.
Yeah.
And you can't have that in a starter.
Definitely. The good thing for him is that he's the perfect example of a person who could take advantage of this NIL system. And it does work for him, right? Because a lower level team, like the teams that I thought DJ should go to, right? A Kansas State, a Maryland, some team like that, some lower Power 4 team is going to see an SEC safety, 3-year starter And guess what they're going to do, man? We want that guy. They're going to pay, baby. So good for Jordan. He's going to cash in on his senior year because he's not an NFL guy. He's not an NFL guy. Next year will be the last year he probably plays football. Okay, he's going to go pro.
The XFL is around. You got your developmental leagues, but
like that commercial, he's going to go pro in something else other than football. All right, he's going to be an accountant. He's going to be a doctor. I don't know what his major is, but guess what? He's going to go be that with a nice paycheck his senior year. Good for him. That's the type of story that I like to see. So, yeah, it's good for him to jump in the portal and get paid because somebody is going to pay a 3-year SEC starter. Someone's going to pay that.
You know, the way you said that is very, very reminiscent of the attitude that a lot of Gator fans were taking about Denzel Aberdeen from basketball. And we'll talk basketball more as the season plays out. But the idea of Denzel Aberdeen basically being a role guy on a national championship team, he's coming back. He's going to be the guy now in the backcourt. He wants big money. Well, he's not quite good enough to be an NBA guy, so we all say. But he gets offered life-changing money by other schools in the portal, among them Texas Tech, Kentucky, Tennessee. So I don't think he even chose the highest bidder, by the way. Kentucky did not offer quite as much as Texas Tech did. Fun fact. But he goes and sees that he's not going to have a future in the pros, or at least not a very lucrative one or long-lasting one. And so he goes and takes the life-changing money from Kentucky. I think that's pretty on par with Jordan Castell. I do think he's going to get a shot. Someone's going to take a chance on him, maybe on a practice squad. The XFL is always there. You'll still get yourself some reps and some tape, and he'll probably bounce around for a few years. But to think that he's going to have a long NFL career is something that I think we all hoped for as a ceiling for him as a freshman, but now 2 years of ups and downs later, I think we all kind of see his ceiling is what it is, and it's very clear. It's very clearly defined. So those are the portal guys from Florida. Also, Mike Peterson Jr., a walk-on, also hitting the transfer portal from Florida as well. We have a lot more to talk about in the coming days and weeks. We'll talk about the Florida position coaches. Once that is all filled out, we are nearing completion on that. We are, I think, waiting on 1 or 2 more assistants, but AJ Erdley, the most recent one, the quarterback coach that's coming over from Georgia Tech, along with Buster Faulkner. That was good. Trent McKnight coming over, the tight ends coach from Georgia State, getting the wide receiver coach Marcus Davis away from Auburn. That really pissed off Auburn fans to lose him. I know that there's a coaching change there. Alex Golesh takes the job after Hugh Freeze is fired, but a lot of Auburn fans were sad to see him go. Also have to talk about how Jabbar Jalouk goes to Texas. Brandon Harris taking over as the DB coach. Phil Troutwine finally comes home as the offensive line coach. We will talk about all of that in another show, but just to address a couple comments from the last show, we did see that comment. We only had the information we had at the time of the recording. We do release them the next day, but as of that moment, we only had the 2 coordinators and GM David Caldwell to speak of in definitive terms. We will talk about all these position coaches very, very soon and break down their recent histories, what they bring to Florida, and why we think Florida hired them and what we can expect to see out of their units moving forward. So
what are the only positions left still that need to be
back primarily? And I'm still waiting on a special teams coordinator, like a real one.
And also a linebacker too, right?
Linebacker too.
Linebacker. I think linebacker might be Bam, man. Bam Hardman. I think it might be Bam. They're waiting maybe for Saturday's game for Tulane, Ole Miss. And if Tulane loses, like it's predicted, obviously, then probably Bam's on the next flight over here on Monday, man. Hopefully. We'll see. We'll see, man. Bam. So that'd be pretty sweet. Get a Gator on defense and a Gator on offense. When's the last time that happened here?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while, man. And from all accounts, Bam's a real good coach. You know, he's been with Summerall now going on 3 years. So, you know, hopefully he does bring them, man. That'll be pretty sweet, man. Bam Hardman. Hopefully.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about Jaden Baugh as more of that info comes in too. Like I said, the latest that we've got is Florida is expected as of right now to pay up and keep him. That could change in the snap of a finger. Screw it. They're tampering, so I'll name drop them. Georgia's going after him. Penn State's going after him. South Carolina's going after him. There are more, but those are the three big players I've been told. So what the hell? If they're going to tamper, I'm just going to drop their names and tell you guys about it. So those are the schools.
Everybody's tampering. We're tampering.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. It's being done very very surreptitiously. They're doing it through the back channels so they can maintain discretion. But yeah, and look, to be completely fair, I'm not even trying to point a finger and like tattletale on Georgia. I'm not trying to do that. They should be doing it. If we were in their shoes, if Florida was the dominant superpower of college football right now and Georgia just sucked for 5 years, I would want Florida to go to Athens, Georgia, and tamper the F out of that roster. I would. So I'm not even mad at Georgia. I'm just saying they're doing it the way everyone else in college football is doing it. So
yeah. It's kind of tough to not test those free agency waters, man. Yeah. You know, and it is tempting for Bog. If Georgia is out there lurking, you know, hey, it's an easy sell, right? Come back home to your home state, you know, help us obviously win another championship, you know.
Worked out for ETN.
Exactly. So
it's a championship here. ETN got a ring.
Yeah. But Florida fans have to realize, look, are we going to win the national championship next year? What are the chances we win the Natty next year, Neil?
Slim.
Probably not great.
Slim to none.
First year of the Summerall era, come on. We're not going to win the national championship. So you can't.
Although, before you continue, I will say Florida is operating like they have a chance to, which they should.
Hey, and I love it. But the point that I'm making is that you can't mortgage your future to sign players just for 1 year. You know, when somebody else might view that player, right, as the one missing piece that they need for their national championship run. So they're going to overpay. But are you going to overpay on a great player, okay, but just for 1 year when maybe that money could get you 2 or 3 players for the next 2 years that might help you in 2 years from now, right? So, you know, those are all decisions that are going to have to be made by the new general manager, Caldwell, along with Summerall. And, you know, that's why they get paid the big bucks, man. It's the NFL. It's harder than the NFL, Neil, because this sport, everybody is a free agent every year.
Yeah.
In the NFL, that's not the case. In the NFL, you at least sign contracts. And like Neil Shulman, I could tie you down for like at least a 3-year deal, you know, and you're tied down. So I don't got to worry about you for 3 years. All right. But in college, everybody is a free agent every year, basically. That's wild, man. That's hard. That is hard to manage that. And then they're all coming. Even if they played just 2 games, had 4 catches, they're all coming at the end of the year and want what, Neil? A pay raise. They all want a pay raise. Every single one of them. They want a pay raise. And it's like, but my man, in the real world, you don't get a pay raise every year, especially if you don't do nothing. Okay?
You gotta earn that pay raise.
You got to earn that pay raise. Well, that's not what my agent told me. My agent told me we're going to make more money. It's crazy, man.
It kind of sucks for like I said at the start of the show, like the love the logo days are gone. They're gone. I mean, if there was any doubt, they dissipated with Jack Pyburn. Like they're just out the door and they're never coming back. But look, I do have a hope that we are going to get some regulation on this. I don't know what it looks like, but there's going to have to be some reckoning that happens that reins this in at least to some degree. And then we can at least have some normalcy back to college football, the sport that we love so dearly, the sport that we cover even in this horrible era right now, because we still love what it was and what we think it could be again moving forward. And look, last thing I'll say, I've always been in favor of college athletes making money. I've just never been in favor of it being unregulated the way it is right now, and a complete Wild West where there's just mass anarchy and everyone loving the mass anarchy and just capitalizing on it because everyone figuring out that they can do what's in their best interests and get away with it and not be labeled the bad guy for it. So that's where we are. It's a different era, but look, the Florida Gators, we believe, have the right coach now. Buster Faulkner comes in as the offensive coordinator. We're happy about that. We're going to now go shopping for a big-time quarterback on the resale market. That's going to be something to talk about. And I do believe that while the tides of college football have changed beyond the point of return, like the Rubicon has long been crossed, we can still see successful days for that Gator head logo in those orange helmets with the blue script on the blue jerseys. And maybe it's going to happen this year. Do I think Florida's going to be a national title contender year one? No, probably not. But that's the beauty of college football. As all the negatives that come with this NIL and transfer portal era have cascaded down on Florida, and we have seen every single negative symptom we could possibly have seen, we may now have a chance to see some of the positives, which are you can win overnight. You can flip that roster overnight. The Billy Napier slow cooking turkey method that takes 4 years and still doesn't even do anything, that's all a myth. You can win in year one now, and it's not unrealistic to think so, especially with what Billy Napier left behind, assuming, of course, Florida maintains the majority of it. We'll talk about all that on the next show and the next couple of days and weeks. But until then, Neil Shulman and Adrian Perez signing off. Before we say goodbye, please be sure to like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and a nice review. Leave a comment about your thoughts if you're watching on a platform that allows you to do so. Tell us what you think about DJ Lagway leaving. Because Adrian and I disagree. We've disagreed pretty much all year long about this. I've always thought that Lagway could be salvaged. Adrian has been saying no, the footwork issues and the mechanic issues and the head issues are just too much for him to overcome. Leave us a thought. Is he going to be successful out of Baylor, out of LSU, out of Miami? Tell us what you think. Want to know? Leave it down in the comments. Until next time, y'all, take care. Neil Shulman, Adrian Perez, signing off from the All Kinds of Weather Forecast.